Oh, fuck me running. It is time, once again. It's 11 o'clock on the west coast of the United States. I think it's 0600 GMT. And this is cBasAfterDark for the 9th of March, 2015. Thank you for being here. Um, Again, I'm sort of in one of those weird mental spaces. It's been a really difficult afternoon and evening. But, I'm trying to rise above it. And I'm rising above it thanks to a friend of mine, Chris, who linked me to something I think we're going to start off with. It's a little weird, unless you're a Rocky Horror Picture Show fan or former performer, or I guess current performer. There are still casts around that do the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And one of the things that came to my attention tonight was, if you know anything about television, you know that there is something called Saturday Night Live on NBC. Furthermore, if you know a lot about Saturday Night Live, you know that there's ups and downs, good parts and bad parts, good casts and bad casts, and so on. And during one of the rough periods for SNL, I think they just turned 40. During one of the rough periods for SNL was a show, kind of an anti-Saturday Night Live show, sort of the, alternative, I guess, to Saturday Night Live. It was called Fridays. It was not on exactly opposite Saturday Night Live, as the name suggests. It was on Fridays. But if you know anything about Fridays at all, or the history of Seinfeld, for instance, you know Larry David, the guy who co-created Seinfeld and then went on to great success with Curb Your Enthusiasm, and now he's in a play in New York City. Larry David was on a show, one of the cast members of a show, around the same time Julia Louis-Dreyfus was on Saturday Night Live, I think. Larry David was on Fridays. I did not know this until tonight, but apparently so was Michael Richards, the guy who played Kramer. But backing up a couple of years from 1981, it might have been like 80 through 82 or something, that Fridays was on the air. Not wildly successful. It didn't take off the way Saturday Night Live took off, but it tried to sort of go after Saturday Night Live's audience on a night when Saturday Night Live was not on yet, but maybe the young kids were staying up late watching TV, so they wanted to have something hip and cool and, against the establishment. Something, to stay up late watching, something that would piss off their parents, whatever the case may be. And Fridays tried to fill that role for ABC TV in the late 70s, early 80s, whenever it was. Okay, backing up 5 years before that, if you know the Rocky Horror Picture Show history, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, made in 1975 as a feature film, and had been around for about 5-6 years by the time this Friday show was on TV. And the really great thing is, apparently, I didn't realize, and we'll discuss this as, by the way, lemonade flavored Mountain Dew as the drink tonight. The show Fridays did a parody of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, featuring Brad and Janet. It was actually Brad Miners, I believe, instead of Brad Majors. A pretty clever thing. By the way, Brad Majors, played by the guy who went on to play Kramer, Michael Richards, and he's amazing. Like, he's a really good Brad Majors for this particular purpose. Anyway, it goes on. What they did on Fridays after Ronald Reagan was elected, I guess that would make it in 1980. Yeah, November, like fall 1980. Ronald Reagan got elected, and then somebody is a big fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show in the writers' room of Saturday Night, or writers' room of Fridays, because they took, I mean, not just a slight fan, not having gone to the movie once or a couple of times. Like, this is a person who goes and goes and goes. It must have been like a former shadow cast performer or a musical actor. I don't know who did this, but they knew a lot about the Rocky Horror Picture Show at a time when, frankly, I didn't realize it was possible to know that much about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Enjoy this. It's called the Ronnie Horror Picture Show from 1981 on Fridays, and it's pretty damn good social satire. It's pretty amazing, the quality, sort of the detail as far as getting the movie correct, and it's also pretty funny, like sort of damning social satire. What was it the description says on the post that told me about this? I'm trying to figure this out. It stands as one of the most jaw-dropping gut shots of political satire ever broadcast on commercial television. It also says it's unimaginable in any broadcast context today because, for one thing, it goes on for 17 minutes. I got 55 minutes on tonight's show remaining. We're going to go ahead and watch the whole thing. This is an epically mounted, painstakingly detailed full 5-song parody. It is really good, and we're going to watch it here. It's enjoy it. The Ronnie Horror Picture Show from the folks at Fridays.
From the Los Angeles Basin, this is Fridays, starring Mark Whitefield, Mary Edith Burrell, Melanie Tarta, Larry David. Okay,
there's Larry David, the guy who would go on to be the co-creator of Seinfeld and, of course, Curb Your Enthusiasm's star.
Carol Igus, Brandis Heck, Bruce Muller, Michael Richards.
Okay, there's the guy who went on to be Kramer, Michael Richards. Look at that face. I mean, he went on to have his racist thing, too. This is, of course, nothing to support that, obviously. And even he sort of went and apologized for it, but it's probably going to follow him around now till the day he dies.
John Rock and special guest star Steve Ballmer. And I am Jack Burns, and welcome to the show. Okay, I took off the sunglasses tonight because I wanted to prove I'm not always blitzed. And I also want to tell you that I want you to see the eyes, real honest eyes. And when I tell you, I've always been straight with you, and I'm telling you, I think this is our hottest show. And this sketch, the opening one, it is, as always, for you.
Jimmy Carter felt ill when his campaign stood still and in panic tried to explain. But the voters didn't care, they had it up to there. Besides, they needed someone to blame. Then a new force came along, said the liberals had been wrong. What we need is a leader with nerve. Then on election night, you told them they were right. Now you've got what you deserve. Like those politicians, double dealers, special interests, faithless healers. See young men fighting, worker layoffs, slush fund scandals, corporate payoffs. Whoa, ho, ho, ho. It's the 80s, Ronnie Reagan horror show.
So initially I kind of thought that first number went on too long, but that's all it was. It was really, I will say this about that opening number really fast. I'll just take it back to me for a second because from a production standpoint, that was really good. It's not easy for one actor to sort of stay that still, so the lips are the only thing on the screen. I didn't get a lot of sense of the camera following the lips person around. I think the effect that they did when they made the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show was actually they used blue makeup on the face and then did the kind of chroma key wash out the blue process, so only the lips appeared to be floating. In this case, you could see the black makeup on sort of the upper and lower part of the mouth. Not that I should be commenting on that. Like, I mean, it was, like I said at the beginning of my comment here, that was really a good send-up. Not too long, didn't go for 2 verses or anything like that. Kept it to 1 verse, tried to set up what we're going to see here, which I think it did a decent job of now that I've watched this a second time. Let's go ahead and switch back now to the Ronnie Horror Picture Show. And like I said, wait till you see who's Brad Majors. It's just divine. All right, here we go. I mean, look at the detail. That sign, straight out of the movie. Look at what Brad and Janet are wearing in the rainstorm here. I mean, I have been to casts where the costumes are not that good.
Oh, Brad, I'm frightened.
Relax, Janet. They probably have a phone.
Oh, Brad, this place looks evil. I feel sinister forces at work.
Janet, you're getting paranoid. You shouldn't have smoked that joint.
Look
They're
at Michael
probably
Vick.
just a bunch of old hippies.
Okay, they got that wrong. It was a doorbell in the movie, but whatever.
Hi, I'm Brad Miner. This is my old lady, Janet. We were on our way to an anti-nuke rally when our car broke down. I wondered if you had a phone we can use.
Come in. You're just in time. We're having a little rally of our own.
Sounds great. See, I told you they were cool, and you were worried.
And now check this out. Look at the spot onness of this.
I would like, if I may, to tell you a most unusual tale. The dark clouds of political change hung heavy on the horizon as Brad and Janet, two bright, average, liberal-minded kids, made their way one Friday night to an anti-nuke rally, unaware of the bizarre events about to befall them.
Oh, Brad, I'm frightened.
Janet,
Brad, I'm really scared.
Janet, let me handle this. Don't worry. Hey, you call this a rally? Where's the wine, the cheese? Where's Jackson Brown?
I'm afraid you won't be attending your precious little rally this evening. There's been enough money wasted on worthless social programs. Your kind had your chance. And what did that get us? Rising inflation, killers on probation, sexual titillation.
Maybe he's right. Maybe it was our fault.
But we meant well. What went wrong? It's been a nation under sedation.
When nipples hold the soul.
But things are changing. Maybe not for the better.
We have seized control. I remember fighting to this one, killing those Japanese and the Allies invading and the Nazis parading. Let's fight this one again.
I think they're singing "Let's Bite the Big One" again. Fight the big one, bite the big one.
You seek direction. Get your hands on a gun.
And close your mind outside.
Get your mind up tight.
For the wealthy who can't afford to stay healthy, and the underprivileged
Okay, let's just pause there briefly. I think that's the middle of the show anyway. Let's bring it back to me for a second. The things that were amazing about that were, if you know the original number, it's just a jump to the left, a step to the right. I mean, left, right, it's literally the directions of the dance in the musical number for the Time Warp. And it's kind of the most famous musical number because it's the one that's in every karaoke bar that people can sing and dance along to. And it's easy for regular people to dance along to because, the steps are right there in the chorus. But in this case, they twist that to be right and left politically. I think that's kind of genius. And somehow, I don't know how it hadn't come up before. The number of people in 1980 or 81 that could have understood this, that could have seen the movie and gotten the satire being produced here, could not have been more than a few dozen people. I mean, it was really that sort of ahead of its time. I'm fascinated by it. I'm just literally fascinated by it, sort of that this was made at all, that it was written, that it was conceived of, and that it was actually produced on TV. Let's look at the last few seconds of part one. There's Brad and Janet looking over there.
I can relate.
Oh yeah, and that's his line. Instead of Brad going, "Hey, do one of you guys know how to Madison?" He goes, "I can relate." It's like a liberal guy.
I can relate. I don't agree with you, but I can relate.
Oh, Brad, don't you see what these people are doing? These people
Janet, relax. This is a great chance to have an intelligent conversation with these right-wingers.
Brad, please, let's get out of here.
Janet. Now let's
Nice
keep
little
our minds open.
damn it, Janet
After
drop there.
all, these people do have a lot of power.
I see you've met my faithful vice president. I'm sure he would deny, but I know he'd like to be the White House president. Don't be put off by what you've read. I'm not a power man, you're nothing. You should just feel relieved that the world is safe. Don't forget who pushes the button. I'm just an arch conservative, anti-intellectual chief executive from California. Let me tell you the score. I think liberals are a bore. All they do is sit and complain. Well, I'm a man of action. I'm aligned with any faction. How do you think I won the campaign? I'm just an arch conservative, anti-intellectual chief executive from California. So try it our way. It's not as bad as they say. Well, I think our party may just suit you. I've been making a man, a Republican. My hopes for America's future. I'm just an arch conservative, anti-intellectual chief executive from California.
Hi, I'm Brad Miner. This is my old lady, Janet.
I'll show them. Tay.
Their car broke down on their way to an anti-nuke rally.
How unfortunate. You'll have to stay the night. Of course, you're married.
Well, no.
Oh, we don't believe a relationship is made or broken by just a little piece of paper.
Oh, how liberated you are. How bohemian. Of course, you're probably no strangers to group sex.
We don't have to stand here and listen to that.
Brad, please.
No, It excites me. Brad, how tactless you are, how hostile, how misinformed. My administration could use a man like you.
Well, you're wasting your time. We've heard that song and dance before.
Pity. That's what's wrong with this country. Everyone's so cynical. Why can't the...
I'm pausing it for a second because I want to bring up, you can't really see it because it's blurry. He started walking, but the tattoo here on his right arm, straight out of the movie. I mean, there's probably no need for that level of detail in a show like this that's going out to hundreds, thousands, if not millions in the country. Yet, look at the detail.
The American people just trust their leaders.
Right. And who comes in? In the movie, it's Eddie, one of the Frankenfurter character's previous mates or monsters or whatever. In this case, you'll see who it's supposed to be in the political thing.
Whatever happened to Watergate? That one will break it on that fateful day. And who can forget that 18-minute gap when they played the tape and I played the sap? I used to laugh with the CIA, plotting covert action, dirty tricks and foul play. And I can still remember the look on my face when I realized what I forgot to erase.
Holy moly, what a day! We were living in the Watergate. Holy moly, what a day! We were living in the Watergate.
I used to brag about my victory. I was really something when I went overseas. I ended the war, and that ain't all. I helped inflation rise and Chile fall.
Holy moly, what a day! We were living in the Watergate. Holy moly, what a day! We were living in the Watergate.
So the Eddie character, Nixon, Watergate song here, but who's playing it? Yes, it's Larry David of Curb Your Enthusiasm and the co-creator of Seinfeld. I guess I could have just talked over the applause here, but I want to make sure he gets pointed out. That's Larry David there, and he should get stabbed if it's accurate to the movie at all.
Dickie, how nice of you to crash the party.
Oh.
Do you think I missed this bash just because you didn't invite me?
Mr. President,
It's not you.
we're ready whenever you are.
My friends, tonight I unveil my grand plan for America's future. After years of experimentation, I have finally done it. I have created the ultimate conservative. Isn't he beautiful? And we created him. We gave him life. He's a reflection of everything we want this country to be.
The poor and oppressed people of this country must continue their heroic struggle of liberation against the racist, fascist dogma and white lies perpetrated by the privileged protagonists of the imperialistic power structure. And I'm talking to you, Grandma.
There must be some mistake. This can't be my creation. I took nothing.
Well, that's where you're wrong, Mr. President. He is your creation, born of your narrow-minded, moralistic viewpoints.
Janet!
But how did that happen?
It's regretful. You were forgetful. But the revolution has never died.
You can suppress it, but not destroy it.
Take it from me. You know,
test was easy back then.
And the students were marching.
And the country was watching.
Let's fight the system again. Let's fight the system again.
Pull out the guard.
That will make us unite.
Without justice, a way to war.
And we'll refuse to fight. If the years stand firm, let's fight again. Let's fight the system again. Let's fight the system again. Let's fight the system again.
And I mean, it's a well-deserved standing ovation they get here. You can see they march off the stage, and then like you can see the cameras there and the people standing up. Like, not everybody got it. Not everybody could have gotten it. But I mean, there's nothing that is nothing short of spectacular. As I told my friend Chris on Facebook, it's like, I mean, that is remarkable. I mean, the accuracy is probably the first thing I remark on, because like, holy shit, there was no reason for there to be the tattoo on his arm except that it's 100% fucking on. And that was for people like me. But in 1981, I was 6 years old in 1981. Like, I did not know this movie. And the number of people who did could not have been large at that point. I mean, it was kind of an underground movie, and the underground people, I guess, who gravitate to Friday night TV might have been aware of it in maybe a slightly larger proportion than the overall TV audience in general. But I told my friend Chris, like, I kind of see through this skit why Fridays did not take off and succeed in the long term. And it was probably because so ambitious, so intellectual, you know. I mean, that was a 17-minute long bit. Saturday Night Live doesn't do anything longer than 3 minutes now, I feel like, unless it's a musical act with, you know, some musician, overpaid musician, lip syncing on television. But, you know, I mean, you gotta respect that. That was so much work. And I can't have been more than a couple of writers, I would imagine, who like could have, you know, taken the songs, taken the dialogue of the movie and sort of convert it to their purpose. And just to even see that parallel in the first place is kind of a really cool thing. To have brought it to life in that way with that cast and those musicians and that actual real, what was it the comment said, like the real physical punch that you feel, like that is a big fuck you to the Ronald Reagan administration and the conservatives in general. I mean, you know, God, don't we all miss the 80s in a million different ways. But I wished I'd known about that show. I wished I'd known about Rocky Horror enough to appreciate it when it was on the air. And I wish I could have somehow willed that it stay on the air, because holy mother of God, that was spectacular. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. And I could probably talk about Rocky Horror Picture Show all night long. If you saw my fast food, junk food podcast last Saturday night with the great Sarah Bell, who was one of my co-performers in that show many years ago, we talked a little bit less about fast food and junk food and a little bit more about Rocky Horror last weekend. So if you're interested and you happen to be watching this, do tune into that. A couple of other things I've seen go by here on the news. Apparently the death of John Candy happened 21 years ago today. Yeah. According to Judd Apatow's Twitter account. And that's obviously very sad. John Candy was a very talented comedian and pretty cool guy. I was a John Candy fan, obviously. I don't think he was from Saturday Night Live. I think he was originally from Second City Television, if I remember right. I could be wrong. Maybe he was from Second City TV and then went on to be on Saturday Night Live. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Well, let's bring up some of the other news I was going to talk about. A couple of helicopters crashed in Argentina, and they killed a bunch of like either sports stars or like reality TV show people who I think were soccer stars as well. 2 helicopters being used to film reality show crash in Argentina. French sports stars among the 10 people dead in that double helicopter crash in Argentina. I think it was called Dropped, the name of the show that they do this for. Let's see. Star Wars bedroom in a $15 million mega mansion in Westlake Village. That would be in Southern California. Here's an interesting one. And it was a big deal on Twitter for some people, although I'm a little bit flabbergasted that anybody, I mean, it's always interesting when I hear about some site or organization shutting down after running out of money when I never heard of it in the fucking first place. GigaOM. GigaOM. Apparently, they announced on Twitter that the site is shutting down. The news portal ran out of cash. I'm sorry. If that was a tech news portal, it was not in the top 50. I had never heard of it, and I'm a nerd news guy. I go through as many of those news sites as possible. Also, another death. Sam Simon of The Simpsons died after battling cancer. He had not worked on The Simpsons in many, many years. I think he quit after the first 5 years or something, but he did actually get residuals from that, and it was pretty cool. Let's see here. Let's just continue on. Telepresence robot teachers are here, and they are goofy looking. If you remember The Big Bang Theory, when Sheldon Cooper met Steve Wozniak, I guess it was. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool because it was interesting to me that the telepresence thing got on The Big Bang Theory, kind of giving it a little bit of mainstream coverage, but also looking kind of wacky. And is this what the robots, or at least the remote controlled sort of robots of the future, are going to look like? Because here's the picture. And can I just sort of view image or like make it larger? I guess I can sort of blow it up this way. Here's the monitor. Here's the camera. Here's, I don't know if this is sort of directional controls or something. We don't see much of it, but we do get to see that there's the, oh, not the Barky Horror again. So yeah, the telepresence device, telepresence robot teachers, it says, and there is a Slate story related to that. So let's actually pull up the Slate story rather than just look at that goofy picture. I would like that if we could do that, and maybe we can, and maybe we can't. There we go. Give me one moment while I pull this up, and let's see if I can't show you. Lord God. Okay, we're going to Google it. Slate. Presence teacher. Okay. Slate telepresence robots in schools. Here we go. What it's like to have a robot for a teacher, a telepresence robot. So it's not like it's an, automaton or anything. This is the Nexus Academy of Columbus is an option for virtual teachers at the school. It allows them to log on and motor around the school. Thomas Hatch noticed something unusual in his reflection on his laptop screen. The teenager turned around. He was face to face with a teacher of an online course. The teacher's face was encased in a small video screen, a 4-foot plastic tower on wheels, hence that photo there. Why will this not close? God damn it, Slate. Anyway. Pretty cool story about that. If you happen to know anything about technology, or you happen to like technology, and you happen to hope one day that maybe you'll have your own telepresence device like Sheldon Cooper did, I think that would be super cool. At any rate, let's continue on with the other news stories. I've been kind of saving up. I guess News Monday is a good thing to do, just sort of News Monday. Another suicide on the Caltrain tracks. I'm saying that without really knowing if it's a suicide or not, but I feel like when it's a 15-year-old high school kid killed by a Caltrain, there have been accidents where teenagers were killed, but I think this one is probably, I feel like most of them are not, depending, I tell you what will be the clue as to whether or not it happened at this one particular crossing in Palo Alto or not. 15-year-old high school Caltrain. Let's just look at the news. Yes, CBS local 7 hours ago, and it was, in fact, in Palo Alto. Let's switch over to it here, and you can see the story. 15-year-old killed on the Caltrain tracks, and if it was if he was from Gunn High School, that's a clue, because that's some kind of university prep school that was really, really intense, and a number of students have committed suicide from that school on the Caltrain tracks because it's sort of right there in the neighborhood. Is this going to be a news thing? I don't know. Northbound train 309. They always do it with the 300 series trains because the 300 series trains are the express trains that cannot stop. Fatally struck the person around 6:25 a.m. south of Churchill Avenue. I don't know if that's the correct crossing to determine if it's a suicide, but a preliminary investigation, according to Caltrain officials, did say it was suicide. The fatality initially shut down Caltrain service in both directions. Southbound tracks reopened and so on. In fact, I would like to look at this time for the other Caltrain, or not the other Caltrain video, but there was a video of I'm sorry, this CBS San Francisco website's bad. Train crash video, because there should be a new one from just today in the news. A train crashes into tractor trailer, at least 55 hurt. This was a North Carolina Amtrak train in North Carolina. Let's look at the BBC News here, because they apparently seem to have the story with the camera footage. Not that it's graphic or anything, but let's see what they have to offer here. Here's the dramatic footage. Let's just see the video story from the BBC. Oh, is this the video here?
Oh my God! The moment of collision caught on camera. A collision so powerful, it derailed the engine and two cars and laid waste to the truck and trailer in its way. With around half of the 212 passengers injured, ambulances weren't enough to ferry everyone to the hospital.
We believe that 30 of those individuals were transported via an ambulance to the Halifax Regional Memorial Hospital here in Halifax County. An additional 25 were also transported via bus to the hospital to be checked out as well.
The truck and trailer, seen here split between two sides of the track, was trying to make a sharp right turn when the crossing's barriers came down. Police say there was nothing the driver could do except dive to safety. This is America's third serious passenger rail accident in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
An investigation is now underway to find out if more could have been done to warn the train. Lucas de Jong, BBC News.
Here's the thing, in a case like that, every single time, and I mean every single time without exception, it's the driver's fault. Trains cannot swerve. Trains go a certain speed, and they're authorized to go a certain speed, and it is not reasonable to think these trains are going to be going slower. You need to stop before every set of train tracks you get onto, every single time. And if you're in that sort of stop-and-go traffic where you think you're not sure if you're going to be able to get across before, the car in front of you is creeping along slowly, and you don't know if you're going to be able to get across before, you need to sit there before you get on the tracks and let the car go further before you start onto the tracks. I don't think, here's the other thing, is if the arms come down and you're stuck on the tracks, drive through the fucking arms if you have to avoid the collision. I mean, scrape your goddamn car, because the train will scrape it a lot worse, for one thing, and you're not going to hurt innocent people on the train. It is rare for people on the train to be injured unless the train seriously derails. I've been in 2 train crashes. Well, one actual train crash. One of them just where the train ran over a human being on the tracks. So I've been in one fatal incident and one actual train crash where the train actually hit a truck on the tracks. And the train is going and the truck is here. And then what happened was the train hits the truck and it ends up sort of on the side of the train, and it's blocking the other set of tracks. There's a northbound set of tracks and a southbound set of tracks. And this was, in my experience, at the time in the morning, it was like 5:25 in the morning. Right then is about when the first southbound train came through. This was not an accident. It was obviously a suicide. And, I remember being on the train. I remember the lights going off. I remember being evacuated from the train. It didn't derail, but in order to get people where they were going and try to restore service as much as possible, the train, and it did, and it's not like anybody got to work on time, but we did have to evacuate the train and go onto the other train on the southbound set of tracks and kind of go in the opposite direction, kind of a thing. They have all kinds of controls and all kinds of communication. The people who work on the trains, especially the passenger trains, in my experience in this country, are phenomenal people, like really conscientious and really hardworking and really safety conscious, to the point of, unbelievable. You can't believe how honestly and safety conscious they really are all this time. stupid ass motherfuckers who don't know enough to never get aboard, never start onto those tracks until you're sure you can get all the way off. I mean, ultimately, it's going to mean that, you know, because of stupid ass drivers who think they are the only thing that matters, and to think that they're invincible, and to think that they're, you know, nothing's going to go wrong. These stupid ass sorry motherfuckers are going to be the reason why cities are going to have to pay millions of dollars to put train tunnels or overpasses over the tracks in order to, you know, try and eliminate some of the collisions and some of the crossings. But they're never going to do that, because the train tracks across this, if you know the number of train tracks and the number of places where the trains cross automobile roadways, I mean, it's astounding. There's no way the government has enough money to do that. If local governments do, fantastic, more power to them. I mean, go for it, but do not expect the train company to pay for that, and I mean, seriously, there's only one rule. You never start onto the tracks until you're all absolutely sure you can get all the way off. And, you know, if you're not able to do that, or respond when the arms come down and drive through and break off the arms, whatever you got to do, so that you don't get your car smacked by the fucking express train, then you don't deserve to have a driver's license. Drivers are not the only people out there. I mean, we could argue all night about drivers versus bicyclists. I know bicyclists who feel very passionate that drivers are too, and then I know drivers who are so passionate that bicyclists need to get the fuck out the way. We can talk about pedestrians. I'm a pedestrian, you know, I don't really drive much, and I actually like being a pedestrian. But at the same time, you know, a lot of these drivers think they own everything, including, you know, the sidewalk at times, if necessary. And I don't know, we're in a driver culture where cars, especially in California, people who are nuts about their cars congregate to California. Cars are all that matters in California. Oh, my car. And I mean, frankly, I've always thought it was too much. People are way too fucking obsessed with their fucking cars in fucking California. I don't know if there's one or two things that I don't miss about California. It's the drivers and the car mentality, because these people are fucking sorry ass motherfuckers. And I don't know. I mean, the people on the train never see it coming, but sometimes the people who are on the tracks incorrectly probably deserve to die. If they're that stupid, that's just called Darwinism, you know, Darwinian. It's the bottom of the fucking food chain. It's thinning the herd, the stupid and the lame, and that's just kind of how nature works. Fortunately, people on the train are being injured, and that's not fair at all. Let's look at the Star Wars bedroom. This is from some blog in Southern California. I don't care about the name, but I do care about the pictures. Let's switch over to it here. The coolest ever Star Wars bedroom is in a $15 million mega mansion. Looks like the bed is one of those sort of craft from the second movie, The Empire Strikes Back, with the little probe droid painted on the wall, or is that actually a model that's hung there? I can see R2-D2 down here. Let's look at closer. Desk, bed, steps up to the bed. I'm sorry, I kind of think that pales in comparison to the Star Trek Next Generation bridge-themed mansion that I covered in a show one time. Because that was actually like a TV media room decked out like the USS Enterprise bridge. Let's just see if I can't Google that really fast. Media room. I don't know if that'll do it. Oh yeah, okay. You can kind of see it here. This is a home theater where literally it's like they got the leather chairs like the captain's chair from the bridge of the Enterprise. And then I think if you could turn around, you would see like a big screen TV, and the little the horseshoe console back here is like a little table, and it might have, I don't remember if it has like actual computer displays in it. This isn't even, I think, the one that I was thinking of, but okay, can I just do Star Trek Next Generation room and see if that comes up with anything? Oh wait, well that just comes up with the rooms from Star Trek The Next Generation. Let's type in mansion and see if we get anything. Oh, okay, yeah, here's a look at it. That's a kind of blurry picture, but yeah, there's seats back here, the horseshoe thing here. There are some computer screens or something that does something here, and a large screen TV here. And I believe this is also, what the hell did I do? I did not want to click on that. I wanted to click on this because this is the other room. This is, you can see the backs of the chairs, the bridge here. On this side, it's kind of like Quark's bar or something. And there's a Borg alcove here. It's pretty badass. I mean, that's really, really fucking slick. And frankly, a lot more money and work went into. That's a $35 million Star Trek themed mansion as opposed to the one that was Star Wars, which I think looked like it went for 14. Okay. 15 minutes. I don't really feel like doing much more of this show, quite frankly. GigaOM, the website that shut down that I'd never heard of, don't really care too much about it. It's obviously sad a lot of those writers got, laid off or whatever, but cry me a fucking river. I've been laid off for a while and haven't had a story. The Jinx, interesting. Did I talk about this last night, that The Jinx, that show on HBO, is actually not only a great show on HBO that does it the way like Dateline Mystery on Saturday night doesn't do it, but also the reopening of the investigation into Robert Durst, the subject of this six-part documentary, is pretty interesting development. I think that they're going to be reopening it because of this 6-part documentary. Let's look at this Ben Carson, Dan Savage story for a second. Do I care much about Dan Savage? I gotta be honest, not really. I mean, he's the guy, I guess, that did the It Gets Better campaign. If they can stop gay kids from killing themselves because they're gay, especially in the redneck shithead parts of the country, then that's all to the good. This is an interesting thing because it's the perfect response, according to this author, Alex Abad Santos. Dan Savage has the perfect response to Ben Carson's claim that being gay is a choice. Ben Carson is some Republican dickwad. I'm not big on Democratic politicians. I'm not big on politicians in general, having interviewed a ton of them. But Republicans are really shitheads in the truest sense for the most part. Very few of them are reasonable or whatever. And let's see, Ben Carson, a possible 2016 presidential hopeful, Republican Party, has taken heat for some of his comments that being gay is a choice. Carson's a retired neurosurgeon and posited that some straight men go to prison and leave gay. Carson's weird stew of words, equivocations, and implicit reference to prison rape did not go over very well. And there are lots of reasons for people to be upset with the comments, for instance, the high suicide rate among gay youth. But it was Dan Savage, the sex advice columnist who started the It Gets Better campaign, who had one of the most searing responses. Savage penned a column that invited Carson to choose to be gay, among other things, and have sex with him. If he got past the shock value, Savage also makes eloquent points about why Carson's comments are really harmful, that painting gay as a choice is a cornerstone of the argument that LGBT people don't deserve equal protection, and what religious... Read this. This is fucking telling as hell. This is really powerful stuff. What religious conservatives and Republicans are really saying when they say that being gay is a choice, or is that gay or lesbian queer people shouldn't be covered by civil rights laws. We shouldn't be protected under the 14th Amendment, that the Bill of Rights doesn't apply to gay people because being gay is not an immutable characteristic. It's a choice that they've made. Continuing on, guess what else is a choice? Religious liberty, these retards who believe in an invisible man in the sky, no matter what their religion. Here's the thing. I am not anti-Christian. I am not anti-Jewish. I am not anti-Muslim. I am anti-religion in the regular sense. I mean, people, if it brings them happiness in their own personal life, I don't care. If it makes them be more charitable, I don't care. If it gives them something to go out and do when they don't get out of the house ever, that's nothing wrong with that, I guess. When they start trying to decide that the country needs to be run in a Christian way, that's ISIS redux. I mean, that is seriously like the extreme Muslims who want to control their country, and only if you don't believe in my God, my way, then boom, you're dead right now, right here. I mean, the people who want religion to run the country are obviously mentally ill. And I mean, I believe the people who are religious for the most part are mentally ill. There's people who get mad at me because I say that, believing in an invisible man in the sky for which you have no evidence is stupid. It's as stupid as believing in Santa Claus as an adult or the Tooth Fairy. I mean, and here's the thing. People who are religious, who are friends of mine, say, cBas, that's not fair. I'm religious. Do you not like me? And it's like, listen, I like you. I wouldn't be friends with you on Facebook if I wouldn't like you. But, and somebody said this, and I always taken this quote from the Penn and Teller Show bullshit. Smart people are good at rationalizing things they came to believe for non-smart reasons. I'm going to say it again because that's so sort of interconnected and complex. Smart people, some of whom are religious, I don't really know how smart you can be if you believe in a religion, truthfully, but many religious people are kind of smart and not stupid in the, Durhay kind of way. And smart people are good at rationalizing things that they believe or came to believe for reasons that aren't smart. Smart people make mistakes just like everybody else does. And in this case, religion and faith are choices. Being gay is not a choice any more than, being black is a choice. It's not. And it's just not. And I mean, people who, I guess we can argue, but if you want to argue that something is a choice, like being gay, you need to be consistent and argue and advocate for stripping away civil rights for people of faith. Civil rights protections for people who are religious. You can't have that if you can't have civil rights protection for people who are gay. And I think that is a genius point. I don't think Dan Savage is all that great. I mean, the It Gets Better thing is the one thing I can point to that's I like him for doing that. But this point is like Hosanna and hallelujah, because yes, if you want to remove the civil rights protections for people who are gay, then you get to remove the civil rights protections for all the people who make these kind of choices, choose their religion, choose their, dinner selection. I mean, seriously, civil rights protections are for things. It's sort of like my argument about pride. I used to be the sort of interviewer on the Gay Pride Parade in San Francisco, not for 1 or 2 years, but for like 6 or 7 years. It was a long time, and I interviewed many, many people. But in the back of my head that whole time, and I don't think this is an illogical statement or a mean thing to say, parades in general and pride certainly ought to be reserved for things you accomplish, not for things you are automatically. So black pride, white pride, brown pride, the color of your skin, to have pride in that, to have pride in your nationality. I mean, I guess there's some people who make, proud to be an American or proud to be a Mexican or, proud. I don't really get that. I feel like you should be proud of things you have accomplished. If you have a son that cures cancer, there's a kid to be proud of. If you yourself invent the iPhone, there's something to be proud of. You know what I'm saying? Like the people who do things have a reason to be proud. I'm not proud because I'm dirty blonde. I'm not proud because I need glasses. Glasses pride? I mean, that's stupid, right? I didn't choose to need glasses. I need glasses as organically as I am gay, but I don't wave a pride flag about wearing glasses, nor do I wave a pride flag about being gay. And what I always said about that was I was never a marcher. And I feel like that's an important distinguishing. Oh, you were in that parade. No, I was not in the parade. Never once was I in the Gay Pride Parade. Never, ever. I was a part of the TV coverage, interviewing people and dignitaries and asking questions. This is not the place for 60 minutes kind of questions, nor did we have the time for that. But it was live television coverage. I enjoyed the live aspect of bringing it to TV audiences that couldn't see it worldwide. It was good practice for my media skills. It was a good opportunity to sort of meet. None of those people, by the way, have ever helped me get a job. And ever since I've been fired from the radio station, I haven't been on that broadcast since. So it only goes a certain distance, I guess, to say that. But I do feel like pride ought to be reserved for something you do and not something you are, for the most part. I think that just makes sense. Religious pride? Hell no. You should not be proud of as Jesus said, pray in private. And imagine how angry I felt when I had a really angry, powerful commentary on my radio show one time about, wait a minute, Jesus said always pray in private? Think about that for a second. You're not supposed to flaunt your religion. You're supposed to, because you're not supposed to tell other people or look how religious I am or wear the icons and stuff. To flaunt your religion is something that, according to any good interpretation of the Bible, I feel like was probably something that's worth listening to. Because think about it. It's supposed to be you and God, right? You and your relationship with God. If you have your relationship with God, I'm jealous of you. Good for you. I wish I had that. I don't believe in it. I've never seen even the slightest shred of evidence to support that there's an invisible man in the sky, aware of my every move, and sad when I say a bad word, a swear word, or all the religious stuff. I get so tired of it. I mean, I spent so many years studying that crap in philosophy school and university that it's like I'm not even going to dignify most of it with a response, and I don't like talking about it. I find it boring. I find it boring to the extent, or to spar with people who are religious is like mind-numbingly boring, because they're never going to listen to me. They never listen. People who are religious do not listen. That's one of the things. They just believe. Why? Well, because we do. Why? Because it's what we've always done. All right, that is not good logic. That is bad logic. That is a bad reason to do something. Now, I appreciate consistency. There's a difference between consistency and being in a rut. There's a difference between having a routine in your life and stopping yourself from being intellectual or learning or becoming more. There's a big difference there. And given the choice between going through the same motions every week and standing up and sitting down and praying and saying this prayer and singing this song at this certain time on a Sunday and comparing clothes with the other people who were in church that day, or watching Nova once a week on PBS and learning something about frogs or birds or space or gravity or whatever the hell it is, like in a million ways, Nova is better than church on any day of the week. And the reason for that is because it helps people learn. And now Nova is one example of millions. I don't care if it's Frontline. I don't care if it's, what's the show I just talked about on HBO? The Jinx, Robert Durst documentary. I mean, do something intellectually stimulating, expand, learn, read a book, not the Bible. I mean, read the Bible if you need to read the Bible. But I mean, once you read the Bible, you're going to find, as Penn Jillette said, that horrible character development, a ton of filler, a bunch of racism, and it promotes murder and slavery and a whole bunch of other bullshit. So it's like, why can't we sort of just accept and move on from the fact that religious people are not growing? Even studying religion is sort of masturbating yourself and spinning your wheels in the mud and not moving forward, not growing, not learning, not expanding, or I would never mandate that people couldn't be religious, but I believe if you're smart at all, you won't be religious. And I don't know. I was not feeling like doing the show in the first place tonight, so if I close things out 2 minutes early, you're not going to mind, hopefully. Text me at this address, at Sebastian Kuntz on Twitter is my Twitter handle. Hey, guess what? Tomorrow night, Game Show Tuesday. I'm really excited. I love Game Show Tuesday, and I already know the game show we're going to do. We're going to do Scrabble from the 80s and 90s with Chuck Woolery. I talked last week about the pyramid, $25,000 pyramid, $100,000 pyramid, $10,000, all the different pyramids with Dick Clark. And I found Bill Cullen was also the host for a while on the pyramid. Blows my mind that Bill Cullen was ever a game show host. Not pretty, but an excellent game show host if you're not looking at the physical features. And the thing the pyramid did was they kind of had this theme that was good. The sort of production value of the 80s pyramid was sensational and wonderful. And on top of it all, they kind of had their own set of sound effects and visual effects. And so they had this particular way of doing it that was just sensational in every way. Scrabble did something very similar. Some game shows stole certain dings or certain buzzers, or like the 60-second tick of the clock during the bonus round. Game shows would steal elements of the pyramid for use in their own game show. Sometimes it was even a pilot that never got off the air. We should do game show pilots one night too. But Scrabble is another one of those very innovative games by Reg Grundy, the same guy who did Sale of the Century, by the way, and other shows. And Scrabble invented its own sort of whole spectrum of sound effects and visual effects. It was sort of computerized in the earliest kind of computerized sense. Good stuff. Do not miss it. 23 hours from now on cBAS After Dark. Good night.